My name is Alan Zepp. I'm Risk Management Program Manager for the Center for Dairy Excellence. I have a couple slides in here, just who we are that we'll get to. So a little bit, I think most of you guys, I milk cows most of my life. I've been doing this as a second career. And so to follow what John was saying, the terminology on the dairy portion can be similar to what I've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 years on the dairy LGM. So on the dairy side, you're ensuring a margin, and I'm going to get through all that. As we go forward. So to continue a little bit, just quickly, I'm with Risk Management with the Center for Dairy Excellence. For the last 5 years, I've explained livestock gross margin insurance to dairy producers. And many of you are aware of that and seen me before and know that. So I was just going to do a couple slides on what's new at the center, or to cover the center. So this is the Center for Dairy Excellence homepage, and the part I want to make you aware of on this. So the margins that I'm talking about later, those numbers in the center, dairy margins, we posted them on our website for the past year. We'll continue to do that. So those are expected margins going forward. So if you want to see what you can anticipate for next January, February, March, they've been there. We've been doing that for a year. This is not new, but we continue to do it. One thing I want to make you aware of for dairy producers, we have what we call a dairy analyzing program. We're working with Dr. David Galligan at the University of Pennsylvania. You can work it on your farm, bring a consultant out to analyze your business, provide benchmarks, talk to us. It's a good tool. Think about using it. And since this is a young farmer meeting, you may be aware of this, but one of the programs that we've been working for the last year is a program called Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a high school business management curriculum. We started about this time last year and hoped to have 20 students. So as the year went on, it was web-based and it just exploded and grew. And so we now have at the end of the year, we had 800 students in 10 states. So if you are people from other areas, if you have people high school age and want dairy curriculum, that's wanted to make you aware of this. So we're getting down to what I'm talking about. So really what we're talking about is getting ready for lower milk prices. So this graph, the yellow line is class 3 milk prices since 2000, the blue line is class 4. You can see they move up and down, they've moved up and down, and on the far right, that red line that falls down like a waterfall, those are futures market prices out to July 2015. So that's where the futures market says prices are going. And I don't want to really be too optimistic. I'm a cynic like John is. And so I don't think they're really going to be that high. I think there's a good possibility that might be higher than what we really see. So that's why we're talking about that. Because, you know, if you look at that, they fall down to $17 class 3. So you guys milk cows, well, $17 class 3, I can ride that. And you're right, $17 class 3 isn't that great. They could go lower. The futures market isn't always right. And I have some slides in here that show that. So the Margin Protection Program. It's an annual sign-up at the local Farm Service Agency office. It replaces MILC. It's a $100 administrative fee to sign up for the program. So when you go into the FSA, the material you'll need to sign up for this program is decide which year you want to use for base production, 2011, 2012, or 2013. So in essence, you're going to want to use whichever of those years you have the highest production as your base year to go forward. So your other choice before you go into the FSA office that you should have in your head is choose what coverage level you want to cover. So you determine your base production, and then you can cover from 25% to 90% of that base production. So if 2012 was your highest year, you can cover 90% of 2012's production, or 25%, or 30%, 35, 40, in 5% increments going forward. And so the margin, the feed costs, I'll show you how they're calculated in a minute or so, but they're based on a fixed ration. So those of you that have heard me talk about LGM, you can choose which, you can make it mimic your ration on the farm. This is a national ration. This is a ration. There's no flexibility. It is what it is. And it's calculated for the amount of feed that it takes to feed the milking cows, the dry cows, and the heifers on a so-called typical dairy farm in the United States. So it doesn't reflect Pennsylvania, it doesn't reflect California, it probably doesn't reflect Wisconsin. It's an average of the whole country. So this is some of what came out today, and this is copied and pasted from an FSA press release that came out about 11 o'clock this morning. So the Market Protection Program, the enrollment will begin September 2nd, ends on November 28th, 2014, for both 2014 and 2015. So that means you can sign up retroactively for 2014. And fortunately, as you'll see later, you know, we don't need the program right now. So this is all kind of new. So participating farmers must remain in the program through 2018 and pay that $100 administrative fee each year. So that means that once you sign up for the program, you're in for 5 years. And I'll go through a little further, I'll say it now. So there's one fellow I'm looking at, or maybe others in the room, that have LGM policies that run through May and June. And I've been telling them so you can transfer into the Market Protection Program, and that is true. You cannot have both at the same time. But if you happen to have a livestock gross margin for dairy policy, a good example would be if it runs through June, then in July you go into the FSA office and sign up for the Market Protection Program if you choose to. And I'm not sure the final regulations on that. You probably will go in and register Market Protection Program into the FSA office this fall to register ahead of time. That would be a good thing to make sure of. But you will be eligible to move into the MPP afterwards. So producers have the option of selecting a different coverage level during open enrollment each year. So that means you can, if you signed up for 50% of your milk this year, and next year you think things are going in the tank and you want to cover everything, you can change your coverage to 90%. Next year, the year after that, things look good, you don't want to cover as much, you can lower your coverage the next year. So once each year you have the opportunity to change that decision. I'm not sure exactly the time frame when that will be. I think it's July or September, somewhere in July, September. We'll know that next day or two. And so dairy operations enrolling in the new program must comply with conservation compliance provisions, just like the grain side. As I said, dairy operations enrolling in the new program cannot participate in livestock gross margin dairy insurance program. And this is illegal for what I just said. Farmers already participating in livestock gross margin may register for the MPP program, but the new program will only begin once the LGM coverage has ended. So my example was, if you have LGM through June, you can sign up for the MPP in July. The Farm Service Agency, which administers the program, will also open a 60-day public comment period on the dairy program. The agency wants to hear from dairy operators to determine the current regulation, whether the current regulation accurately addresses management changes, such as adding new family members to the dairy operation or intergenerational transfers. Written comments must be submitted by October 28, 2014, and I expect they'll get some. But if you want to write a letter, it's your chance. If you want to tell them how the program should be run, I had 2 of those calls yesterday. I don't think either one of them would have written a letter, but if you're willing to write a letter, well, here's your chance. And so the website, if you don't want to write the letter, you can, it's at the bottom there, www.sausd.gov. Another component that doesn't really affect the farm, but just make you aware of it, Dairy Product Donation Program. The Farm Bill established a donation program that authorizes USDA to donate dairy products. And they purchase only during periods of low dairy margins. Dairy operators do not need to enroll to benefit from the Dairy Product Donation Program. So I apologize for reading this. I saw it this morning. This is about the second time I've looked at it, so it is what it is. Now we're going to get into what I'm a little more familiar with. So why do we talk about a margin? Most of you guys, a lot of familiar faces in here, have heard this. So I'll quickly run through it. But the reason we talk about a margin and not the milk price, so up at the top, I tried to pick all milk price. So the Margin Protection Program uses the all milk price. The all milk price is a reported milk check price. It's the average milk check price for the United States. It's reported each month in the Agricultural Products Report, which actually came out today about 3:30, and I never got it open yet. But that's, so the August all milk price is in that report that's in my computer that came out today. So I took that all milk price, tried to get the ones close to $22, calculated the margin the way they're doing. So at the same milk price, that margin varied from $8.21 in November of 2012 to $14.23 back in November of 2007. So essentially, $22 was a really good milk price in 2007. It wasn't nearly as good in 2012. So looking at the other way, with $15.50 milk price, the margin can vary. Margin varied from $7 in December of 2008 to $10.50 in September of 2004, going back forward. And the one that I want you to see is in the last cycle, that all milk price only dropped down to $16.20. But because of the feed costs, the margin, what was left over to pay mom's grocery bills, was only $3.40. That's why we're talking about, it's not about the milk price, it's about what you have left over after you pay the feed bill. So how do we calculate this margin? This one I think is on the sheet that was passed around. So the margin for the Margin Protection Program is the all milk price, as I talked about, with LGM was class 3, minus the feed price. So the feed calculations are corn, soybean, meal, and alfalfa hay in the Margin Protection Program. And these are fixed values. Like I said, this is a ration that these numbers are fixed. So the prices for these values come from that same ag prices report that came out today. So August corn price came out in that report today. August alfalfa hay price, they're national prices. It's the price of corn across the country, the price of milk across the country, the price of alfalfa hay across the country. So that's how the margin's calculated. Milk price times the corn, soybean meal, and alfalfa hay to create that margin. And so we're talking, like I said, these are national numbers. So what does that mean to Pennsylvania? So the national numbers are the black line. Pennsylvania values, NASA publishes Pennsylvania values for the same commodities, and so I did this, and so Pennsylvania's milk price is higher than the national milk price. And so actually Pennsylvania's margins, traditionally, you can see the blue line is usually higher than the black line. But they run together, and they're pretty close. If I had California up there, I could put California up there, and then I'd make you guys feel really good. Because California's line is, you don't have any trouble seeing it. It doesn't touch the national number, and it's a lot lower. California operates on a much lower margin. Those guys operate on a couple pence. So our margins, the national margin can reflect both. So we're going to go through the calculation quickly again on the margin. I'll beat it through your head, and then we're going to go someplace else. So this was June. So the June all milk price is $23.20. The corn price, reported corn price for June is $4.49. The formula says it takes a bushel, 0.0728 bushels of corn to make 100 pounds of milk, so that converts to that. The soybean meal price for June was $501.72. The formula says it takes 0.00735 tons of soybean meal to make 100 pounds of milk, so that's the soybean meal value. The alfalfa meal price reported in the July report was $222. Formula says it takes 0.0137 tons. So you take the all milk price, subtract the feed cost, you have a margin of $11.65. So that was June's. I figured July's up today. July's is around 12. August may be 13. Feed prices are coming down, milk prices are holding steady. So on the margin protection program, one of the differences between that and LGM. So the MPP averages, there's 6 indemnity periods in a year. So January, February are averaged together. But March and April are one indemnity period. May and June, one indemnity period. July, August, one indemnity period. So I showed you the calculation here. That's how June's calculated. But the indemnity is not, the indemnity was at 1165, so you have to factor May in there. So May's was 1226. So the indemnity for that 2-month period would be the average of those two, which is 1196. And so those are the premiums. Premiums for the program are fixed for the 5 years of the program. There's LGM and futures through options, through the co-ops, or through a broker. The market determines the price. This sets, the prices are set for this for the next 5 years. So there's a break above and below 4 million pounds of production. So under 4 million pounds of production, you can look at this, that's a penny a hundredweight. Under 4 million for $4.58 of coverage. So the coverage is available is between $4 and $8. Most of you, I think, probably know this part of it. So you pay the $100 at the FSA office, and if you pay the $100, $4 coverage doesn't cost anything. If you want to buy increased coverage above that, $4.50 will cost you a penny. If you look across here, you'll see that everybody sees $6.50, you know, that's 9 cents, it goes from 9 cents to 21 cents. So that jump between $6.50 and $7 is what we've been calling the sweet spot. So the first year there's going to be a discount. They want to get you in the program and incentives. There's 25% discount on these prices. So the first year that $6.50 margin will cost you 7 cents instead of 9 cents. Now, if you're shipping more than 4 million pounds, or if you're shipping 20 million pounds of milk, your first 4 million are going to be priced here, and your next 16 are going to be priced over there. Okay? So I'll run through a quick indemnity, and I think I'm okay. How the indemnity is calculated. So you take your base production, the formula says to calculate the indemnity. You take the base production times the amount of milk you have covered, times the coverage level threshold, which is what we just talked about, what you bought, the coverage you bought, minus what it came in at, and divide by 6 payment periods. The asterisk in the bottom, I want to make sure doesn't get overlooked on here. So there's no limit on available coverage. So with MILC, most of you remember the larger farms, the cap was 2.4 million pounds of milk where you could have coverage. So basically for 200 cows and under, they had coverage through the year. If you're milking 2,000 cows, you know, MILC didn't really cover you for a month. This program, it doesn't matter whether you have 10 cows or 10,000 cows. You can cover them all at 90%. That's one of the biggest differences. So we'll go through the payment calculations again. So your base production is 2 million pounds of milk production. That's a pretty typical herd, 80 to 100 cow herd around here. So you want to cover 50% of that 2 million pounds. So 2 million pounds is 20,000 hundredweights. So you're covering 10,000 hundredweights, and you selected the $6.50 coverage level. So margins fall for one of those 2 month periods to $5.50. So therefore you have an indemnity. So it's $1 indemnity covering 10,000 hundredweights, but there's 6 payment periods in a year. So the indemnity payment would be around $1,666 for that 1 2 month indemnity period on a $1 on it. If margins were to fall from $6.50 to $5.50, 1 2 month period in a year. Okay? So to go back to this, I'm talking about the $6.50. And so if subsidized the first year, it costs you 7 cents a hundredweight. So if you're insuring 1 million pounds at 7 cents a hundredweight, you guys can mostly do this math in your head too, I think. That's $700. So you paid $700 to cover a year's coverage. And if you have a 1 2 month period where you have $1 indemnity, you bring in $16.66, you double your money. It's a pretty highly subsidized program. And $6.50 coverage, I was gonna do that. The question I've gotten the last 3 days, so what does a $6.50 margin amount to in milk price today? I've had that question 4 or 5 times in the last 2 days. And I didn't get it calculated exactly, so don't hold me to this exactly, but I'm gonna say off the seat of my pants it's around between $15 and $16. So, you know, it's not great, but it's not 12. So, where do you get help for this? I'm going to go through some tools that are available at the FSA decision tool. The next couple slides come from that. The FSA office, as John says, are, there's a catch-22. Those guys have an impossible job. They have to learn this program. They have to learn the grain program that John's going to talk about. I know this program pretty well. I don't know John's program. I just told him earlier. I need to listen to John to know his program. And he doesn't know my program as well. And those people are supposed to be experts on all these programs, and we all know they can't. And I don't think we can expect them to. So I'm asking you to be patient in there, because that's the reality. But they have the final say. So if you go in there and ask a question, the other sources, there's a train-the-trainer meeting that's going on. Like I said, the rules came out today. 2 weeks, there's a train-the-trainer meeting in Syracuse that many extension people, cooperative staff, feed company people are going to learn this. So there will be other resources around to help you through this. Extension, farm advisors, veterinarians, bankers, nutritionists. And my phone number's there. I operate from my cell phone. I've taken calls from farmers for the last 5 years on LGM, and so if I don't answer it, let a message, and if they get too deep, I may not get to it, but to this point, I've always given you an answer. It may not be that day, but that's what I do, so call me, and I'm available. So, here's a little bit of the scenarios going forward. So this is 2015. This is all from the Farm Service Agency website estimator. This is using today's futures market prices. So we are here. And so the black line is where futures markets say the price is going to go. The green line and the red line are the range that they provide that think the fluctuation within that range. This is the $8 level that FSA is saying. So, if futures markets were right all the time, we can go home and you don't need to worry about this because it's not going to fall that low anyhow. Is anybody that naive? I hope not. I hope not. But that's where these numbers come from. So in this scenario, given today's futures market prices, So that's 650. This is at 90% coverage. My example was at 50% coverage. So this is 90% coverage. So at 90% coverage, the premium would be $1,315. $1,315 for the year. And so the expected payment would be $495. So the bottom line is, given if those futures market prices are right, next year there's no expectations of a payment. So how many of you guys were milking in 2009? Nobody's forgotten that yet, have they? So here's 2009. This is what the estimates were. So these estimates were made on September 30th, 2008. I remember that real well. I was still milking it. And so this was when things were just, I think the bank crisis came on September 13th or 15th. This was just when things were starting to get nasty. But this is what the futures market said was going to happen in 2009, September 30th. Black line. You know, they said, well, it might get down to $7 margin. And the range is, the range is, the worst it's going to get is maybe down to 5 for a month or so. And it might do better than that. Okay? I don't need to tell you what really happened. You guys all remember that, don't you? So this is 2012. And I put this one in because all that summer, guys came up to me and said, man, this feels like 2009. You know, we didn't get talked about it as much, but the feed prices shot up and everybody was feeling the pain. So this is what the futures markets predicted on September 30th, 2011 for 2012. And so I'm going to go back and just to make sure everybody remembers what did happen. So this is what really happened in 2009, the black line. Those are the numbers. These are the actual numbers, that black line. So we went down to 350. And I can click forward. I mean, it was said, the futures markets in September said it wasn't going to go above 7. And we went down to 350 in May. And then 2012, we were down under $4. And so this chart says a couple things. You know, if you're looking for the cheap coverage, the free coverage, the catastrophic coverage, that's what you got. You got catastrophic coverage. You got payments a couple months in May and a couple months in 2009 and a couple months in 2012. I think I'm done. Now I got a couple more in here. So most of you, those of you who have heard me before, where I'm really trying to go, where I think the margin protection program, and I've been saying with LGM, LGM and margin protection program both become the base for marketing plans. As producers are going forward, I've said this many times, guys my age can get by the way they have. Those young guys starting out, they have to think about how they're going to market and help you do that in the marketing plan. So that's a combination of these tools. This is a marketing plan that I put together as an example. It can be used as an example for people going forward. So many of you know Tom Williams. Craig Williams is a dairy agent up in Tioga County. He grew up in Dauphin County. He's now in Extension. So Craig and another guy and I put this presentation on last spring for dairy extension agents. So this is Craig Williams. I'm going to give him full credit, but I really like it, so that's why I use it. And so we call this is the cruise on the margin protection program. So you can sign in at $4, you got the catastrophic coverage. You know, as long as the seas stay calm, life is pretty good. If the water starts getting a little rough, you're going to get some water in the windows, but you're still in the big boat, and you can still keep on going. If you want to upgrade yourself a little bit, you know, you buy higher coverage, and you're up a little bit more out of the water, things will go a little better. A higher level of MPP. If you want to combine combine it with the co-op and dairy contracts going forward, why you can build yourself a pretty good plan going forward. But the guy you do not want to be, in my opinion, is this guy out here in the lifeboat. You know, the water's calm right now, and that's okay out there. But boy, when it starts getting choppy, do you want to be on the big boat, or do you want to be in that little life raft? And part of, one of the reasons I'm going to go there's been I'm out of time, but I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this. So there's been some modeling done that, remember I said that everybody can sign up for the margin protection program. So, you know, people in this part of the world, I'm not going to participate in the government programs. If a lot of the larger farms sign up, if a large percentage of the milk in the United States is covered, if they're on the big boat, and things get rocky, we get down, say 2012, you know, I think I don't know that 2009 is ever going to happen again, but 2012 sure could. You know, if most of the milk is on the big boat, and they're getting government payment checks, and you're out here on this little life raft, insuring yourself, and your neighbors are all getting government checks, and you're not. I want you to think about that now, not 2 years from now when it happens. I'm done.